I'm still shocked by Mad Men's surprise Star Trek reunion 3 years after Enterprise ended. When Mad Men premiered in 2007, audiences were immediately drawn into its smoky cocktail of 1960s advertising, identity crises, and the slow unraveling of Don Draper's carefully constructed world. But for Star Trek fans, there was something else hiding in plain sight. A reunion nobody expected. Just 3 years after Star Trek, Enterprise had limped off the air in 2005, closing the book, at least temporarily, on televised Star Trek. AMC's sleek period drama brought back two familiar faces from the bridge of the NX-01 in ways that felt almost like an inside joke. To this day, I'm still shocked by how it happened, and how seamlessly these actors pivoted from warp drives and temporal Cold Wars to martinis and Madison Avenue. The strange bridge between Enterprise and Madison Avenue. Enterprise ended in 2005 with These Are the Voyages, a finale that divided fans more than almost any other in Star Trek's long history. For some, it was a bittersweet goodbye to Scott Bakula's Jonathan Archer and his pioneering crew. For others, it was a betrayal, reducing the final episode of a 4-year series to a TNG holodeck framing device. In short, it was a rough landing. Many of the cast members scattered to other projects, often lower profile than the pop culture phenomenon they'd left behind. And then came Mad Men. AMC was not yet known as a prestige TV powerhouse when Matthew Weiner's series premiered in July 2007, but its gamble on a character-driven period piece set in the 1960s paid off almost immediately. The show became a cultural sensation, winning Emmys, Golden Globes, and changing the landscape of television drama. It wasn't long before sharp-eyed Trekkies noticed something unusual. Two actors who had stood shoulder to shoulder in Enterprise's final mission were suddenly back on our screens, not as officers of Starfleet, but as part of the brutal, ambitious, seductive world of Sterling Cooper. Connor Trinneer, from Trip Tucker to Salvatore's Heartache. Connor Trinneer, who had played Chief Engineer Charles, Trip Tucker 3 on Enterprise, didn't exactly vanish after the series ended. He popped up in shows like Stargate Atlantis and NCIS. But his appearance on Mad Men in 2007 was something different, a short but powerful guest role that left an impression. Trinneer played one of Salvatore Romano's advertising clients, a businessman caught between traditional expectations and the quiet, unspoken queerness of Sal's personal life. In an era when subtle gestures carried more weight than words, Trinneer's character became a catalyst for one of Sal's most heartbreaking story beats. It wasn't science fiction anymore, no technobabble, no warp plasma leaks, just two men in a room navigating desires society refused to allow. For Trek fans who had spent 4 years watching Trip Tucker charm his way through alien diplomacy and southern fried wit, seeing Trinneer in a buttoned-up suit with no trace of his NX-01 drawl was startling. He wasn't playing a hero anymore, he was playing part of the suffocating system that quietly punished men like Salvatore for being themselves. In a way, it was just as brave as anything Trip ever did. Linda Cardellini and the Jolene Blalock connection. But the bigger shock came in later seasons, when Linda Cardellini joined the cast as Sylvia Rosen, Don Draper's mistress in the show's 6th season. Wait, Linda Cardellini wasn't in Enterprise, right? Not exactly. The connection here is subtler but fascinating for Star Trek fans. Cardellini had starred opposite Jolene Blalock-Tupple on Enterprise in the 2006 indie film The Dead Will Tell. It wasn't a Trek production, but it was a rare, intimate collaboration between actresses who both embodied very different archetypes of early 2000s TV drama. Blalock the stoic Vulcan, Cardellini the every woman grappling with supernatural mysteries. Seeing Cardellini step into Mad Men while Blalock's career remained relatively quiet post-Enterprise felt like an alternate universe echo. What if Tupple herself had been allowed to reinvent in the prestige TV boom of the late 2000s? Fans drew parallels, imagining how Blalock might have flourished in Weiner's world of fractured identities. Instead, Cardellini became Draper's Sylvia, another woman caught in the orbit of his destructive charisma. For those who had just spent years watching Archer and Tupple push back against Trip's feelings, seeing Cardellini's story play out added a strange resonance. Dominic Keating, the cameo nobody talked about. Even more surprising was Dominic Keating, Enterprise's Malcolm Reed, slipping into Mad Men with a blink and you'll miss it cameo. Keating played a minor role as an advertising executive sitting in on a Sterling Cooper pitch, delivering a handful of lines but instantly recognizable to Trek fans. For those who remembered Malcolm as the by-the-book tactical officer, perpetually stiff and haunted by duty, Seeing Keating in a slim suit and 1960s glasses felt uncanny. He wasn't Malcolm Reed anymore, but his sharp, guarded energy carried over. For fans still nursing wounds from Enterprise's cancellation, it was like bumping into an old friend at a party you didn't expect to see them at. The cameo was so small that many casual viewers missed it. But for Trekkies, it was proof that Enterprise had ended only in syndication, not in the hearts of the cast. Why it still feels surprising. 3 years doesn't sound like much now, but in 2007, it felt like a lifetime for Star Trek fans. Between Enterprise's cancellation in 2005 and the J.J. Abrams reboot film in 2009, Trek was adrift. No new series on the horizon. No cohesive fan consensus on what went wrong. Many assumed Star Trek actors would fade into the convention circuit, popping up only in sci-fi guest roles. And then here they were, in a critically acclaimed drama about advertising. Not a single phaser, transporter, or alien in sight. Instead of space exploration, it was an exploration of the American psyche. That's what made it so shocking. These actors weren't just scraping by, they were proving they could stand shoulder to shoulder with John Hamm, Elizabeth Moss, and John Slattery. They didn't need the stars to shine. They could shine under fluorescent lights and cigarette smoke just as well. Star Trek and Mad Men, a secret kinship. Part of what makes the reunion resonate is the unexpected kinship between Star Trek and Mad Men. On the surface, they couldn't be more different. One is an aspirational vision of humanity's future, the other a cynical look at America's past. But both shows are about identity, about the masks we wear, the roles we play, and the systems that constrain us. Trip Tucker, Malcolm Reed, and T'Pol spent years grappling with what it meant to represent humanity's first steps into deep space. Don Draper, Peggy Olson, and Joan Holloway grappled with what it meant to be a man, a woman, or even just a name in a world of appearances. When Trenier sat across from Salvatore Romano, or when Keating slipped into a Sterling Cooper meeting, it wasn't just a gimmick. It was an echo of Trek's ongoing questions. Who am I, really? What role am I performing? And who gets to decide? The legacy of a reunion few remember. Looking back now, with nearly 2 decades of hindsight, it's easy to forget just how disorienting that moment was. Trek actors appearing in a prestige drama like Mad Men wasn't the kind of crossover anyone had planned for. It wasn't marketed. It wasn't hyped. It was just there, a quiet reunion tucked into the background of a show about Madison Avenue ambition. And that's why it still shocks me. It wasn't a stunt casting. It wasn't designed to draw in Trek fans. It was just the natural movement of talented actors from one project to another. But for fans who had lived through the heartbreak of Enterprise's ending, it was more than that. It was proof that the crew of the NX-01 still had places to go, even if those places weren't across the stars. Final thoughts. Today, with Star Trek thriving again through shows like Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Lower Decks, it's easy to forget there was a time when the franchise felt truly dead. Mad Men happened to come along right in that gap, carrying with it a few stowaways from the last canceled Starship. I'm still shocked when I think about it, not because it was so unlikely for actors to find new work, but because of how perfectly the reunion worked. These weren't just cameos. They were reminders that Trek actors could do more than warp drives and tricorders. They could survive the cutthroat world of Madison Avenue just as well as the void of space. 3 years after Enterprise ended, Mad Men offered fans a small, surprising gift, a reunion hidden in plain sight. And for those of us